Hi, I'm Seth Brown, the Executive Director of the National Municipal Stormwater Alliance, which is an organization that focuses on municipal urban stormwater issues in the United States. And I want to talk a little bit about the Chesapeake Bay and the value of the Chesapeake Bay. I was lucky enough to be involved with the development and authoring of a report focusing on the Chesapeake Bay just a couple of years ago. And really one of the big takeaways from this report was the fact that, well, first of all, there was a good discussion about the overall value of the Bay, and also a good story about how, the role of wastewater and stormwater, and how the wastewater sector was not only meeting their goals, but they met those goals 10 years in advance of the projected dates. And one of the takeaways from this report was, that the wastewater had done a great job, but now stormwater, the urban runoff, and those sectors had to move forward, and that's really the focus of a lot of the energy in the Chesapeake Bay right now. And the Chesapeake Bay is so important. We're talking about a watershed that's 64,000 square miles, 18 million people. Nearly 12,000 miles of coastline, and it's got it's unique in that it's got a 14-to-1 land to water ratio, which is the largest ratio of its kind for any coastal body in the world. And the implication or the significance of this is that what's done on the land has significant impacts on what happens in the water, and the bay itself is an unbelievably valuable asset, not only in terms of social and environmental dimensions, but also economically. It brings in an estimated $100 billion or more to the whole region. So clearly it's something that, protecting the bay makes bottom line good sense, as well as social and environmental good sense. So I just want to give that opening for a great video that you're going to get a chance to see that came to us from EPA. So I invite you to watch that and enjoy.
I grew up in West Virginia, and in West Virginia, the Chesapeake Bay seemed as far away as California. So you wouldn't think I would have an affinity for it, but I do.
The diversity, really, of landscape, of people, of experiences that you can have in this region is the reason why I moved here in the first place.
It's always fun to eat a bushel of crabs in the summer, so.
I like to fish. I like to hunt. It wasn't so long ago you couldn't catch a striped bass in the Chesapeake Bay.
It's this place where my kids can go and my members can go and find a level of peace.
It's hard to believe that the 2 weeks that I planned to stay have grown into a lifetime of almost 45 years.
To me, it starts right here at this stream behind us, and if I know that that stream is clear and clean, somebody that's down there boating or having fun in that Chesapeake Bay or eating those oysters, that's a benefit that somebody else is even receiving just because we're doing something right here.
My name is Ida Hall. We're on my father's home place on the Chesapeake Bay. I got hooked on the waterman's way of life. It was so close to nature. I think it's extremely important to have all of the states that are in the Chesapeake Bay watershed to be committed to want to keep this bay as good as it is now and improve it so that not just my generation or your generation, but my great niece and great nephews, the generations to come, will be able to experience, what it's like to go out in the bay and catch a fish, a wild fish, and to, catch their own crabs, or to see, I catch little seahorses in my crab pots. It's just amazing what's out there in the bay.
I'm Dennis Tracy. I'm the president of the Smithfield Foundation and the current chair of the Virginia Chamber of Commerce. To have a clean Chesapeake Bay makes business sense more than most anything you can imagine. Not just from the people that work on the water, people who do guide trips right behind us here are kayakers and canoers, recreational folks. They depend on a clean bay and clean tributaries to the bay. Businesses spring up all over that are related to fishing, that are related to hunting, that are related to sightseeing and tourism. All of those bring enormous amounts of money and cash into an area, and you can't do that if you've got a polluted asset or something that's ugly and not appealing. The other thing a lot of people forget in the business community is we want to be good parts of the community as well. We attract executives from all over the world that come to Virginia, and nobody wants to go to a place that is not taking care of business at home. So by emphasizing the quality of life here in this part of the world, this is the James River. A lot of people live and work nearby, and also a lot of people really just enjoy having it there and knowing that it is improving. Those are the kind of people that we want to be employees at our businesses in Virginia. People who respect and expect a quality of life that is second to none. And the Chesapeake Bay effort is a huge part of that.
My name is Luke Brubaker. I started farming in the 60s, and my dad started farming in 1929 on the farm where I live today. We did a lot of plowing and we worked the ground. We worked the ground. Today I'd say we worked the ground to death because we thought that that was the only way you could farm back in the 70s and the 80s. Well, we learned there's much better ways to farm, and over the years we worked our way to the no-tilling. It's not only a value for us, which I like to say any conservation practices that we're doing is a benefit for us. But in return, when you're doing that, it's a great return for the Chesapeake Bay. So you get a great benefit for everybody. It starts right here in the farm. We are part of the wellhead protection area for our local community at this farm we're standing on here right now. And when we can put good, clean water into the aquifer, that is not only a plus for us, but it's a plus for our cattle, it's a plus for the local community. So it's a win-win for everybody for a good management practice.
My name is Rev Johnny Calhoun, and I'm the pastor of Mount Olive AME Church. If you look at it, God being the beginning and the end, the Alpha and Omega, if you will, He says and shows how important water is in the beginning of the Bible, and at the end of the Bible, that same water flows to the throne of God. And so just understanding that and realizing the sacred contribution of water and the sanctity of water and the position that God from the very beginning placed water in, from a theological standpoint, understanding that helps the faith community to convey to the general community that we're partners in this water situation. We work to get a number of churches in the African American community, as well as a couple of mosques involved, to be all in to take a second look at how churches can partner more effectively with the environmental community. And what we absolutely need is the capacity, support, and resources to expand what we're doing and to be able to increase our reach so that we can have a greater impact. You know, I believe that in spite of the tremendous work that's taking place to improve the Bay, if we don't have the resources to get a broader segment of the community involved, there'll be some undoing of some of the progress we make just because we don't have a greater percentage of persons who are all in. And so the capacity to get more people in the water is something that we're aiming to be able to achieve over the next few years.
My name is Sarah Anderson, and I run a consulting firm that specializes in urban sustainability, specifically urban parks and urban forestry, called Lily Leaf Solutions. So Lily Leaf is a member of the Chesapeake Bay Diversity Work Group, which we're thrilled to be part of. And we also are working on part of the Chesapeake Bay tree canopy strategy, the part that deals with environmental justice. So one of the main areas of focus that we have is to help build capacity, local capacity of tree planting organizations to engage people who have systemically been disenfranchised. So folks who are living in areas with really low canopy coverage. We don't really permeate the community, and we don't really have a presence there. And what Lily Leaf is working to do is to have the people who are in those communities that have been systemically disenfranchised, right, lower socioeconomic status communities, mostly communities of color, we're working to have them say what they want. What do they want their canopy to look like? And then have those needs and those desires drive the work that tree planters and nonprofits and municipalities are doing. So within the Chesapeake Bay region, we have a ton of diversity. We've got species diversity, of course, but we've got tons of diversity of people. And not everybody's voice is necessarily at the table making decisions about what happens with our canopy. And so that's what we're working to do. We're working to increase the representation and to increase the agency and the power that people have over their own communities.
My name is Jennifer Volk. I'm the Environmental Quality Extension Specialist here at the University of Delaware. I also worked with DNREC, our Department of Natural Resources and Environmental Control, and there I helped to develop our watershed implementation plan for the Delaware portion of the Chesapeake. And in Delaware, about 50% of the land area in the Chesapeake drainage is agriculture, and it contributes most of the nitrogen and phosphorus that gets to the bay. And so it's one of the main areas where we focused our implementation strategies. I think our farmers in Delaware and Delmarva and across the Chesapeake watershed are really leading the way when it comes to nutrient management practices. The 4 R's, the right time, the right place, the right source, and the right method, are all ways that we can still continue to fine-tune how we're managing our nutrients so that they're used more effectively and efficiently.
To have these states come together in the Bay watershed, it's the only way we're going to keep the Bay alive and productive for a long time.
The states that surround the Chesapeake Bay are focused like laser beams on improving the Chesapeake Bay. EPA is a good governor to have there. They are the people who set an expectation and let the states go and try to do it.
The Chesapeake Bay Program Partnership has been a great initiative for Delaware to be involved in. As a headwater state, we weren't completely at the table in the beginning, but we're there now. And it's benefited us because it's brought funds in to help us support our partners within our state, like our conservation districts. And so the funds that come in to Delaware and go out to our partner organizations help get best management practices on the ground, but then also help us to look at new and innovative technologies like air seeders for cover crops, so we can get more early planted cover crops on the ground and not interfere with a farmer's operation for growing their corn.
The greatest victory is not only for this farm by keeping water and soil in the farm, but it's a victory for our community.
The Chesapeake Bay has improved dramatically. This river has improved dramatically.
We stand on the same planet, we breathe the same air, and we drink the same water source. And so if we don't work together and collaborate to protect and save that, it affects all of us.
Making sure that everybody feels that they're limitless, that everybody feels like they can have, that opportunities are going to come their way, and they feel optimistic, they feel nourished, they feel whole because they're able to reconnect with nature. That's what more can you ask for?
The value of the partnership of everybody working together on issues that involve farmers and cities and localities and state governments and businesses and environmental groups, there is enormous value in that because everyone has been pulling the oars in the same direction for quite some time now, and we're beginning to see the fruits of that labor.